Everyone. I was just, doing this show is not about me, and I appreciate you having me. It's really about you and Emma and all these great actors and actresses and filmmakers. But I was told we have like an extra minute, and I'm really proud of something. I was wondering if I could share it with you. I just got a review, and has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less than average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed up but cheap ABC talent, George Slopanopoulos. He would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, and more glamorous. Blah, blah, blah. Make America great again. Okay, now. See if you can guess which former president just posted that on Truth. Anyone? No? Well, thank you, President Trump. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still... Isn't it past your jail time?
Now, sure, Donald Trump will be pissed off because he can't handle whenever an audience has anything except for fawning, groveling adulation for him, as evidenced by his rallies. But this is even worse because these are the people who Trump wants acceptance from most. These are the people he views as his peers after a lifetime in the entertainment industry. So for the entire room of people who he respects to sit there and laugh at him is like an arrow through the heart for the guy who is desperate for their validation. And I know there are some of you out there who are going to say he doesn't need Hollywood's approval, he's got millions of supporters, and he does have millions of supporters, but let's be clear, he doesn't care about them, and he never has. They're useful for him to consolidate his grip on power, but he has nothing but contempt for those people. Here's what Olivia Troy, Mike Pence's lead staffer on COVID, had to say about that.
He made a statement once that was very striking. I never forgot it because it pretty much defined who he was. When we were in a task force meeting, the president said, maybe this COVID thing is a good thing. I don't like shaking hands with people. I don't have to shake hands with these disgusting people. Those disgusting people are the same people that he claims to care about. These are the people still going to his rallies today who have complete faith in who he is.
Here's Howard Stern making the same point.
Oddity in all of this is the people Trump despises most love him the most. Think about it. The people who are voting for Trump, for the most part,
they're not people he wants.
Oh my God, he wouldn't even let them in a f***ing hotel. He'd be disgusted with them.
Or another example, when Mark Leibovich was following Trump around for a profile on the campaign trail, he saw a group of fans running up to 6th Avenue to see Donald Trump, and Trump said, "Look at these people, it's literally a little bit sad." Or when Elizabeth Spears, former editor of the New York Observer, was criticizing Trump to Jared Kushner, Jared rolled his eyes and said, "He doesn't really believe it, Elizabeth. He just knows Republicans are stupid and they'll buy it." Or when former White House press secretary Stephanie Grisholm said, "He knows he's lying. He used to tell me when I was press secretary, go out there and say this. And if it was false, he would say, it doesn't matter, Stephanie, just say it over and over and over again. People will believe it." He knows his base believes in him. He knows he can basically say anything and his base will believe what he's saying. And of course, there's also the fact that Trump lies to them with the same frequency that most people breathe. He's manipulated his base into thinking that there was fraud in an election in which zero widespread fraud occurred, even according to judges who Trump himself appointed. He's manipulated his base into thinking that COVID was a hoax, that he built hundreds of miles of wall along the southern border, that he added jobs during his presidency, that his prosecutions were being directed by Joe Biden. I mean, honestly, I could sit here for the next 15 minutes and keep listing the lies that he sold to his base. So let's use some common sense here. If someone you knew lied to you on a daily basis for the express purpose of manipulating you for money or votes or to make you a tribune for him among the public, would you consider that person a friend, or would you excommunicate them from your lives? Because I'm pretty sure I know the answer. And don't just take my word for it, just look at what he did as president. He came into office having promised those forgotten Americans that he would work for them. He pretended to be a populist, and yet his sole legislative achievement was a tax cut for millionaires and billionaires. In fact, he actually conceded that it wasn't a middle-class tax cut by then promising a middle-class tax cut outright.
We're going to be putting in a 10% tax cut for middle-income families is going to be put in next week. 10% tax cut. Kevin, we're putting in next week the 10% reduction in middle-income taxes, right? Next week. Okay.
Kevin, we think that's Kevin Brady
Yes.
from the House Ways and Means Committee, the tax writer in Congress. Look, critics of the GOP tax law say it helps companies disproportionately, not the middle class as much. But how real is this 10% tax cut? The White House says the president wants tax reform 2.0, an additional 10% tax cut just for middle-income families. But a GOP source tells CNN there's no serious plan at the time, and there are two big issues. The president says next week. There's no real clear time frame and no chance of any plan passing before midterms. Congress is in recess through the election.
Ah, yes, next week. You'll be shocked to learn that that tax cut never materialized. It was just something he told the rubes at his rally to manipulate them into supporting him. The only people he'd actually lift a finger for were his rich buddies in the billionaire class, all the while stringing along his base with promises of things that he had zero intention of ever seeing to fruition. Or the healthcare plan that would come in 2 weeks. Did that ever materialize? How about the infrastructure law that he promised? Did that ever materialize? He didn't bother doing anything that didn't help rich people. Rich people don't care about making healthcare more affordable because they can already afford healthcare. They don't care about infrastructure because they don't need rural broadband or derelict roads to be paved because they don't drive on those roads. Don't you see? The only things that Trump took seriously were the things that impacted people like him. Everything else was a bill of goods designed to sell to suckers. In fact, I spoke with Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg just this past week about how while Trump pandered to the forgotten Americans, it was actually Joe Biden who delivered for them. I feel like Republicans very often capitalize on folks who claim that they're the forgotten Americans. What's it like to go into these communities and actually be the administration that is remembering them, even though other administrations who kind of seize on this talking point that they're remembering the forgotten Americans don't?
Yeah, I think the point is that actions speak louder than words. Just a couple of days ago, I was addressing the national gathering of the UA union, that's pipeliners, plumbers, pipe fitters, steam fitters. And they were talking about the promises that were made to them under the last administration. That, you know, President Trump promised you're going to get an infrastructure bill, promised he would fix their pensions, promise after promise. None of it happened, which is a good example of what it means to actually be forgotten. We've been able to deliver on that. The president obviously delivered on the infrastructure bill, also a pension reform that was very important for the building trades, project labor agreements happening across the country that mean more of those jobs will be good paying, provision called Davis-Bacon, which has to do with the wages on construction sites, those going up. So yeah, the exact same people who were being appealed to as forgotten. And look, I come from the industrial Midwest. I think a lot of us from so-called flyover country did feel forgotten by both parties for many, many years. But what's so exciting now is it's not just talk. It's policies, not just promises. It's jobs, not just generalities. And that's landing.
So I've said this before and I'll say it again, don't listen to what Trump and Republicans say, watch what they do. Because they've already broadcast exactly who their priorities are. And it's not his diehard base, it is the ultra-wealthy who've stepped on that base to get to where they are today. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.